Hello guys, today we're going to talk about something else. In this episode of Why Feminism Sucks, we're going to be covering three different things today, which is the three feminist myths that simply just will not die. We're going to go first head on into the long since debunked, over debunked fucking wage gap myth, and we'll continue on from there. Keep in mind, all links to these files will be in the description below. I could link to various news sources such as Slate, even Huffington Post, and all these other news outlets, but let's stick with the scientific studies themselves instead of relying on news sources, because quite frankly, I don't necessarily trust news sources because they're corrupt. I mean, seriously, when was the last time you've seen a feminist blogger go as a title of fucking journalist and all of a sudden get paid? I mean, come on. Seriously, think about it. There are factors identified through decomposition of the raw gender wage gap. Such information as occupation taken, human capital development, prior work experience, and various career interruptions, which include motherhood as well. Also goes by the industry. Factors identified through analysis of compensating wage adjustments. First we have health insurance and other fringe benefits, and the amount of overtime worked. Again, these are going to be in the description below, so you can read the whole thing if you want. I'm trying to cover as quick of a base as I can because, YouTube video. So in this, we have the following. Research also suggests that differences not incorporated into the model due to the data limitations may account for part of the remaining gap. Specifically, Constab's model and much of the literature, including the Bureau of Labor Statistics highlights of women's earnings, focus on wages rather than total compensation. Research indicates that women may value non-wage benefits more than men do, and as a result prefer to take a greater portion of their compensation in the form of health insurance and other fringe benefits. In principle, more of a raw wage gap could be explained by including some additional variables within a single comprehensive analysis that considers all of the factors simultaneously. However, such an analysis is not feasible to conduct without available databases. With available databases. Factors such as work experience and job tenure require data that describe the behavior of individual workers over an extended period of time. The longitudinal databases that contain such information include too few workers. However, to support the adequate analysis of factors like occupation and industry, cross-sectional databases that include enough workers to enable analysis of factors like occupation and industry do not collect data on individual workers over long enough periods to support adequate analysis of factors like work experience and job tenure. Although additional research in this area is clearly needed, the study leads to the unambiguous conclusion that the differences in the compensation of men and women are the result of a multitude of factors, and that the raw wage gap should not be used as a basis to justify corrective action. Indeed, there may be nothing to correct. The differences in raw wages may be almost entirely as a result of individual choices being made by both male and female workers. Well, Glenn, what are you going to talk about next? Well, I'll tell you. Rape culture. Trigger warning. There are no trigger warnings in this video. Rape and sexual assault victimization among college-age females from 1995 to 2013 from bjs.gov. In Figure 1, we see a graph. It states, rape or sexual assault victimizations against female ages 18 to 24 reported to police by post-secondary enrollment status 1995 to 2013. We have students and non-students, which is described as A and B in these little notes. So let's look. A includes female victims ages 18 to 24 enrolled part-time or full-time in post-secondary institutions like college or university, trade school, or vocational schools. And B, this one here, includes female victims aged 18 to 24 not enrolled in post-secondary institutions. So bam bam. Your colleges are safer from sexual assault and violence, sexual assault and sexual violence, things of that nature, including rape. Off campus is more dangerous. In campus or on campus is safer. We see the wordings that they use, the definitions, questions wording, survey context and scope, mode and response rates, rate of rape or sexual assault by females by age and post-secondary enrollment. You can just look at that graph. Look at that sexograph. I'll just drop this here for a second. Feel free to pause if you want. Rate of rape and sexual assault victimization was 1.2 times higher for non-students than students. Rape and sexual assault victimization among male students. For the period of 1995 to 2013, the rate of rape and sexual assault victimization was lower for males ages 18 to 24 than for females, regardless of enrollment status. College-age male victims accounted for 17% of rape and sexual assault victimizations against students and 4% against non-students. However, this funny thing is, it seems like it's higher for men than women on college or whatever. However, the rate of rape and sexual assault victimizations for non-students 0.3 per 1,000 was a fifth of the rate for the students, 1.4 to 1,000. Due to the relatively small number of sample cases of male victims, this report focuses exclusively on females. Estimates of male rape and sexual assault victimizations from the NCVS cannot be further disregarded by victim and incident characteristics. Estimates and standard errors for Figure 2. Rate of rape or sexual assault for females by age and post-secondary enrollment status. These are Figures 2 and 3. Standard errors for Table 1 and Figure 3. Rape or sexual assault victimizations against females ages 18 to 24 by type of victimization and post-secondary enrollment status. And 3 is standard errors for Table 2. Rate of violence victimizations among females ages 18 to 24 by type of violence and post-secondary enrollment status. And these continue to go on and on and on. I am reading these actually and going through the data as I'm pausing the recording, so I can get a better idea of what to actually say for you guys. This is the first time I'm actually reading this stuff personally myself through the study. I've read these 2 studies right now, almost in complete detail. But again, feel free to go through and actually check out the information yourself if you want to read the whole thing. I do highly recommend it. I like how the study says here, survey response rates and bias. Surveys with low response rates have an increased potential for non-responsive bias compared to surveys with higher response rates. Non-response bias means that those who participated in the survey may differ in important ways from those who did not participate, which could turn into impact the survey findings. In 2013, the NCVS had an 88% response rate for eligible persons and combined persons and households. Response rates for 74%, while the 2011 NISVS had an overall response rate of 33.1%, and the CSA response rate was between 33 and 43 for males and females at 2 schools. Measuring rape and sexual assault victimization is an evolving field. BJS is currently engaged in a variety of projects exploring ways to improve the measurement of rape and sexual assault through the NCVS and related surveys. One of the things I'd like to point out to you guys when you're looking into these things is to always check out the methodology, because you're going to find some potential flaws in research data should you check that out, especially with quote-unquote feminist scientists. Overall, the study shows that it's not as widespread of an epidemic as they try to make it out to be. The National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey 2010 Summary Report. This looks familiar. There we go. Key findings. Nearly 1 in 5 women have been raped sometime in their lives. Okay, this is that 1 in 5 myth. Where the fuck is that coming from? Sexual violence, stalking, intimate partner violences are made real in the United States. Made survivors of these forms of violence can experience depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, suicide attempts. If all those fail, let's check the background and method. How was the survey developed? The development of the National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey was informed by the National Violence Against Women Survey, which provided the starting point for the development of the survey instrument, a federally sponsored workshop that focuses on building data systems. Yeah. Incentives. Respondents in the landline and cell phone samples were offered an incentive of $10 to participate in the survey. That is a conflict of interest. Respondents could choose to have the incentive mailed to them or donated to the United Way on their behalf. Yeah, that's a conflict of interest. That is a ding on this survey, on this study. Okay, guys, something you gotta look at when you look at these things is thus. Estimate not reported relative standard size of error is greater than 30%. And look where that is. It's annotated by the asterisk. Boom, 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 boom. Made to penetrate. So greater than 30%, and you got these women that are complaining about, like, oh, 12.3. This would mean that more men are raped by women than. You get where I'm getting at with this? Whatever. Feminists don't like those details because that ruins their narrative. So rape culture does exist, and it's called feminism. Keep in mind it's going through different things like sexual violence other than rape, and it even includes stalking. Yeah. Overall, this study has shown that the 1 in 5 women will be raped thing to be complete bullshit. So, it is worth a read. Again, link in the description. Here's where that 1 in 5 will be raped bullshit comes from. Link in the description. And this is from the Washington Examiner, which talks about this bullshit here and just rips it a new asshole. The CSA study was actually an online survey that took 15 minutes to complete, and the 5,446 undergraduate women who participated were provided a $10 Amazon gift card. Again, it's a conflict of interest. Men participated too, but their answers weren't included in the 1 in 5 statistic. Go figure. If 5,446 sounds like a high number, it's not. The researchers acknowledged that it was actually a low response rate. Another limitation of the CSA study inherent with web-based surveys is that the response rates were relatively low. Although the response rates were not lower than what most web-based surveys achieve, they are lower than what we typically achieve in a different mode of data collection, such as face-to-face interviewing. 19% of women who responded to the survey said they had experienced some kind of sexual assault, either attempted or completed. 12.6% reported attempted sexual assaults, 13.7% reported completed sexual assaults, and some women reported both. But a lot of these responses have to do with how the questions were worded. For example, the CSA study asked women whether they had sexual contact with someone while they were unable to provide consent or stop what was happening because you were passed out, drugged, drunk, or incapacitated, or asleep. The survey also asked the same question about events you think but are not certain happened. That's a lot of interpretation. And Curtis Bastemom of American Enterprise Institute says no one interviewed was asked if they'd been raped or sexually assaulted. Instead of such straightforward questions, the CDC determines whether the responses indicated sexual violence, said Professor Summers. Bastemom. Anyway, I'm not going to read through this whole thing here for you guys. I mean, you can read this yourself. I'm just going to let you do it. The link for this is in the description below as well. So, have fun being rapey.